We would love to welcome you to Sisters in Song tonight. Please take
Thank
a
you.
minute to introduce yourself, tell us where you are, anything else we might want to know about you, sir.
Sounds good. Okay, well, my name is Adam Czeisler. I am in Seattle, Washington right now, and it's beautiful sunny. I'm in the band Sweetwater, and we are just releasing a new record called Shine On. And yeah, we're really excited about it and excited to talk to you about it.
Well, we are also excited about it, and we know that it's the first full-length album in what, over a decade.
Oh my
Tell us
God,
like
scaring
how
me.
this came to be. Like what was your inspiration for it?
Well, good question. And by the way, it is the first full length, but we did do some EPs and
Oh, I'm not saying there was no music in
yeah,
it,
that's
of course.
just
Just
getting that out there.
love it.
Um, yeah, the inspiration was really, honestly, it started in the pandemic, and it started because prior to that we had been rehearsing and kind of working. Typically, our normal pattern for I guess we always want to be songwriting. And normally what we do is we'll go in the practice place and someone will maybe bring in a song and we'll try it with the band. Or even sometimes we just jam and like come up with a cool riff and then we like it and kind of keep going there. And then usually I'll record that in the band and take it home and share it with everyone. Hey, what do you guys think? And we just kind of iterate like that. And if people like it, I'll take it home and then I'm responsible for writing the words and the melody and everything like that. And I'll do that like on a little 8 track that I have here with the band recording. And then if we like it and get it to a point where it's like a real song, then we go into the big studio, record it, and usually with the producer, and then they help us really get it to the finish line. And that's been our typical process. And so we were kind of like, going through that type of thing. And then pandemic hit and we all were, stuck in our boxes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
as you do.
Yes. In our isolation and everything. And so we didn't practice anymore for a while. And it kind of went for maybe a year or two. So it was like pretty into the pandemic. And then Rich, our guitar player, just kind of announced, we were texting and stuff, and he was like, you know what? We're gonna make a record. And
I
and I
love it.
was like, what? I was like, well, we don't have any songs, He was like, I booked the time at Studio Litho.
Oh my gosh.
It's like I booked 3 days, so let's go in, see what we got. And so it was very bold and but so necessary. Like, because if he hadn't have done that, of course we'd just sit around and talk. Um, so anyway, booked the time. And we all showed up and it was like I sent out, I kind of dug up the stuff we'd done in practice place, kind of showed what we had, these sketches, really I would call them. But anyway, we showed up at the studio and it was like, let's go through those songs, and we laid down 16 tracks of music,
Wow.
and it was like,
Wow.
whoa, I guess we do have a few
You do
songs.
have songs.
Yeah. And they weren't totally arranged. We kept the arrangements really simple just because, they weren't, and again, there was like no words or anything on, I don't think any of them. Some ideas, again, more sketchy. And so we did that and it was sounding good and it was like really exciting to be there. And we had masks and everything, but it was like pandemic world. And so it felt kind of special to, even be able to be together and playing. So it was
Yes.
great. And so we did that, and that kind of started the journey, and it got me inspired and motivated to be like, oh, let me go, write these songs. And so took them home, and I've got a little kind of home studio here, and it's pretty nice. It was very rudimentary before, uh, but anyway, so I took it and then started working on the songs, and actually. I also was working on a song on myself, by myself on acoustic, and that was Shine On. And so that one we didn't do in the studio, but I was doing it on acoustic. I kind of laid it down in my studio, and that was the first one that I wrote. And again, pandemic inspired. It was summertime. It was in Seattle. We had these wildfires for the first time
Oh,
during
yeah.
that section, and we kind of, not every summer, but for a while we had them, and they would come from British Columbia and Canada or from the South, depending. But they would end up being, like crazy smoke and stuff. And so I remember sitting actually in this room, and there was sun. It was like, and I could see the sun, and it was red, like very blood red because of the smoke, right? And
Yeah.
so just the whole isolation of the pandemic and everything, it just felt like I was like, somebody in this planet, like, come talk to me. And that was the lyric was like, send me a message, from the planet you're on, like cross those light years instantly. And that was that kind of ser looking for that connection, searching for that.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the first inspiration that went to Shine On. So I wrote that, and then we didn't record in the studio. So then we were like, oh, we got to go back in. It went, 17th song anyway. So and we did that, and I don't know. Do you all play music or do recording?
We
So
play guitar
we're learning.
poorly.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, and if you've ever, I don't know, because as I say, normally you'd lay the drums and the bass, basically the rhythm section first, and then you put things on top of it. But you can, in the modern world, like I can put down like programmed like fake drums, and that's what I laid the guitar on top of that. And then our drummer's, really good, and he can basically play over that,
Wow.
and play to a click and just lay down real drums to it. So not everyone can do that. I'll just but he totally can, and so we're really lucky. So he did that for that song, and then the other song that was like early in the process was State of Grace. And so that was we I live close to Rich, and to Cole, so the guitar player and the bass player. We all live and grew up together basically, and we live still, I mean, it's like Little House on the Prairie or something. It's like we live within, much less like a half a mile of each other. So anyway, so he one day he just texted me and said, "Hey Adam, I have this song I just wrote, and I want to come show it to you." And so he just walked over and had his guitar and then played the riff for State of Grace, which was really cool. It has that kind of almost like a Faces kind of feel. I was loving it. I was like, "Oh, this is so great!" And so I just put up the mic and recorded it right then. And that was like those tracks actually ended up making it, all the way to the record. We didn't re-record them or anything. And then I wrote it really quickly because I was just like inspired. And so yeah, I laid down some vocals, and then again we took those two songs together to the studio and did the drums on top of it. So yeah, so I would say and it just kind of went from there. And once we had those two under our belts, it just felt like, okay, we can do this. And so then it was like just song after song. And I would, again, I have the studio here, so I could do the vocals here. And it became also very collaborative. Like the guys would, at least not so much Chris because he lives farther away, but Rich and Cole would come over and, listen to what I got and like get feedback. And then even, it started off just being a vocal thing that I was doing here at the studio, but then it was like, hey, could we try to add a guitar part? And I was like, maybe I could record that. I don't know. Let me try. And so then, and I just kind of, tried, and it worked out. Luckily we had some early wins, but I just got better over time. And it was, yeah, it was super, like for me, it was really fun because I'm also an engine. I mean, I do computers like in my work. And so I kind of have that engineering like
Hmm.
well. And so for me, it was that challenge and the music were both like really interesting to me.
It sounds like a very organic process, and so happy that it made it to the world after
Right.
the pandemic and all, and all of the
Yes,
like
yes.
getting together. So when he came over and played you the song, was he in your driveway or was he allowed in the house?
Oh no, this was like
Post-pandemic.
somehow it was kind of, as I say, we started this. It wasn't the beginning. It was like more like towards the end of the
Oh,
pandemic when
okay.
it started. So I don't know the exact timing, but it was by the time he came over, yeah, there was no masks. I
I
think we
was
were,
imagining him in
yeah.
in your driveway playing the
Yeah, no,
guitar.
no, it wasn't. But it's all that pandemic like
Yeah.
feelings that kind of led
Yes.
into some of the songwriting and stuff like that. So it was, yeah, but I think the actual physical time, even when we went into litho, was kind of tail end because they finally opened it up and they were like, we have some fancy filter thing. It's like, okay, really? I don't know.
Treat.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We're going with
I
that.
love it.
Anyway,
I love it. And I'm glad you did.
I am
Yeah.
too. What
Yeah.
got you started originally in music?
I mean, me personally, I started, well, I always loved singing, always. And, for me, it's like kind of like flying or swimming or like very physical. Like I just always just loved it. And so there was that. But then when I was 7, my parents had me play violin. And so, which, I actually first hated, but then grew to like. By the time I was liking it, my parents were like, maybe we're done. It's a lot of
No,
screeching.
come
And I
on, Mom.
was, I know, I was like, I'm finally liking this. Like, don't take this away. She's like, okay, fine, fine. And it was a neighborhood, this woman who was in the symphony who lived within walking distance. So I could walk there and stuff. This is back, in the olden days when they let kids walk around at
Walk
7.
everywhere. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Right. But anyway, so yeah, I did violin from 7 through I guess 12, 13, and I kind of was burning out on it, but then I did a little symphony. It was like they have like a middle school and a high school and a
Mhm.
beyond college symphonies here in Seattle, and I did the middle school one. And that made it more, it was more like a sport because you would like compete to get the first chair. And I don't know if you all
Yes,
done.
I played
Yeah.
Yeah,
viola. I was
Okay.
terrible.
Oh, so you
So I
know
totally
exactly
get
what I'm
it.
talking about.
I
Okay.
and it's
yeah,
screeching noise 100%.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's
But
chairs. Yeah.
yes, yes. And then right, fighting for the shares and you got to audition and yeah. And so that was scary, but it was also, it was fun. It was and plus it was more social, like, I'm with other kids and so that became a lot more fun for me. And then so I was liking it, but then I go in high school and then I kind of realized like, okay, maybe violin isn't the best, way to talk to girls. Like I think guitar might be a little bit better.
yeah. It's a little more
Um,
rock and roll.
Yeah, I think it's just, maybe if I played the fiddle or something, but I didn't. Um, so anyway, so I switched to guitar and then I thought, oh, this would really translate. No, it did not really
Not
translate.
at all.
No.
No, no. And so I had to start from scratch, but it was great. So I learned, just started learning guitar. I had a little teacher, and actually the same teacher. We all went to the same school, or at least the three of us. And our first drummer, we went to this school called the Bush School, which was kind of a small, we had 52 kids in the class. And it was like experiential learning, which essentially they just meant like do it, don't just read about it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
and so that was helpful, I think, looking back. And they had this anyway. They had this one guitar teacher there who we all took lessons from.
That's
And so
cool.
yeah, and so I got. I mean, I didn't ever get great at guitar, but but I was able to play. And then we were in various bands in high school. So I did that, and then but simultaneously, or like actually simultaneous to the violin stuff, I was doing singing. So I was in a boys choir, and I guess I was like boys choir ages like what 10 kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, 10 to whenever. But and so I was about 10 and I went to the Northwest Boys Choir, which I loved. But then it was too expensive, and my mom said it was $44 a month. I remember that number.
Burn into your head.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I had to quit that, but she found, which was so great, she found a free place, at a church, and it was the Methodist, First Methodist Church in Seattle, which is a big, it's got this huge dome, and I think it fits like 400 people or something crazy.
Wow.
So that was, and there was a great, teacher there, or whatever, some other name for uh, him, but so the leader, the vocal leader, and he was really good and so I went there and it was free and I loved it and I would perform every Sunday for that big group and do like duets and solo stuff and it was I never got scared. It was wild. I was thinking back on that. I was like, God, I was never ever like nervous because I
That's
just
pretty
Yeah.
remarkable
It's
for
in
a
your
yeah.
blood.
person. But yeah, that means you're
Right.
meant to perform, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because I literally, I didn't, I mean, I was like, do I know the part? Do I, I was more like thinking of that, but it was not, yeah, it was weird. I mean, later I got nervous.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I just never, I don't have a single recollection of being like nervous.
That's
So
pretty,
anyway,
yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you were talking about writing and
yeah.
you were saying you do most of the words. Um, how do you know when a song is finished?
Ooh, great question. I would say I'm kind of terrible at that. Um, And if Rich or other people were here, they would vouch for that. Like, the rest of the band keeps me on task and so, sets deadlines. Like Rich was like, I booked the studio place, we're going in. So that is helpful because you need some kind of structure. Otherwise, for me, there's always something more that I could do. And I have learned over the years that if you keep, okay, there's like a moment where you're making it better, but then there's a moment where like it's already very good and you're going to just make it different. You're not going to necessarily make it better.
Yes.
We'll make it different, but they both are good and it's hard to say which is better. And so, um, that's definitely like a challenge. And so deadlines help, but in this case, that's one of the things that's amazing that we finished this record because when we started out, at least Rich and I kind of had this like not pact, but sort of mental like approach where we're like, you know what, we've done a lot of records where we do them the regular way and had producers and we go in and we have, we're paying for the studio time, so it's very constrained and we ended up getting it done, but we're like, let's do something like more this time, and let's get the arrangements to the point where they're great, not just like, good enough. And like, and even the lyrics, like, let's pay more attention to every line, not because sometimes you're like, okay, that works. Let me move along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yep.
so we just wanted it to, in every aspect, we were like, let's try to do something. I don't want to say better because again, it's that thing like who's to judge, but like more in depth, more lush, sort of instrumentation, more attention to very intentional about the arrangements, about everything, and even the sort of the song meaning, like what are you trying to do here, and then so like even questioning, we would talk about it and stuff, but before it would just be like I would kind of wing it and hope that something worked out, like it was very like intuitive, you know what I mean? And this was like we had that intuition, but it was like we were able to, I think, use like more of our brain. And it just hard to explain, but it was like it was a different approach for sure. But given that, again, you can go too long, right? So
Yeah.
so I would say circling back, how do you know when it's done? There is a feeling, and this is even when I'm like riffing, trying to get melodies and words like on top of music. There's a moment where I like, oh, that feels good. That feels like I get a feeling where I'm like, no, okay, that's good. And so you kind of know, and I keep going until I get that boom, and then and we sort of did that with these songs where we were like, okay, is it compelling? Does it continue to keep your attention here? Like, what are we dropping off? Okay, what do we need to do here? And do we need to pull something out? Do we need to put, so we, were able to, because I've got the studio, I could do really quickly different ideas and mock up different ideas and we could listen. And usually when you listen, you're like, oh, that's better. That's worse or whatever. And yeah. So, I mean, I'll give one example, like in the song Kids, you guys have heard that, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so one of the things in that song, well, when we first laid it down, it didn't have that dynamic build. It was basically like started, full power and just kind of kept going. And I was like, this is kind of flat. Like, and I had when I was singing, I I pulled out all the guitars just because I don't even know why, but I for some reason, and then I heard it with just me and the bass. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like that's like it just like captures your attention, and it's a little bit like what is happening. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna totally change the approach to the song. It's gonna be like building kind of almost like I mean, not this intense, but like in the air tonight vibe,
Yeah.
like it takes
Yeah.
forever to get, yeah, like I didn't, it don't take that long, but that, but that, at least that sentiment, like, like start and then and so then I started with a chorus by itself. And then the next time around, I added one harmony to it. And like the whole thing was, and we had little one guitar, and we just built throughout the song. But it was hard to keep it going, right? It's easy to go from
Yeah.
here to here, but then how do you like keep it climbing? So we kind of, and we had a bunch of it, and we actually went in and mixed the song as it was with pretty good builds and stuff. But then we were all listening to it even after that, and it was like, okay, it does this big build, and then when it goes into the payoff where we're all rocking, and this is before we added that keyboard, it just kind of goes, it's like it's not paying off. Like,
Yeah.
like it's great. Like
Something's
all of
that
it.
needs something.
Yes. It's like needs something. And like, and so Cole came in to the place here and he was like, yeah, he's like, I'm rocking it in my car. And it's like, I'm loving it after that point. And then I'm like, mm. And so, and so he's like, it needs like, I don't know, like a Cars keyboard, like a really intense, like keyboard line, or maybe some crazy guitar thing. Cause we already tried big guitars on there and that didn't quite do it. And so, so I was like, okay, I'm you give me my prompt. Let me and so I kind of played around and ended up coming up with that keyboard line and so when it breaks hard, it does this and it's really you never heard that sound before in the song. And actually we never bring it back again, which was everyone was like, "Oh, we love this. We got to play it more." And I was like, maybe, but maybe we just have it be just there. So, so that's an example of where we really felt like we needed more,
Mhm.
and it was good that we went further, you know, because
Yeah.
but it was more like, yeah, probably what made it good is we evaluated it as it was and said, "Oh no," and it grew as a group. We're it's not just me like
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
It's like a
myself, right?
collaborative
The
process.
collaborative,
Yeah.
we're like, hey, as a group, we think that this needs more. And then it's like, okay, Adam, go do it. Whereas if you're by yourself, you can, spin.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
I
fascinating to
was going to
me.
say the same thing. It's so fascinating to hear how that song like went through all of its iterations and yeah, how you just all of it. It's
Yeah,
fascinating to
working
me.
together as
Yeah.
a well-oiled machine to
Yes.
say, and everybody goes, "No, that's not it yet,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then keeping it
Right.
until
I
you
love
know
it.
this is
Like
it.
this
That's
is
been
it. And that thing
yeah,
unlocked everything. And then the rest of the verses just worked with the guitar and everything kind of open. And then I added more some oohs and harmonies. I wanted to make it kind of spacey. I mean, the whole thing of that song is like trying to. I also had like a approach with the lyrics, which was make this sensory. Like listen to the sound of the
Yep.
motorcycles. I
yeah,
see the shadows of the helicopters, like and then the feeling of like walking into harm, which is like you're a little scared, like what's happening here,
yeah.
and it's like you're going into the riot. It was like the riots that were happening, or around that time, and so it was this feeling of like you're scared to be there, but yet it's also exhilarating to be part of the crowd. And
And you
the
want to
and,
know what's happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
yeah,
you also there's something that feels like empowering when you're part of a group,
That's yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
That's
And
I
that
yeah,
think it
and so that even happens in politics, and you can see the rallies. I mean, it's the same kind of thing, or even like a big show when everyone just feels this like collective incredible lift, to be part of that group,
hmm
and it can be for positive and for negative.
yeah.
Yep.
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 So
That's so true.
yeah, so that I was trying to, but anyway, the main thing is like I had this at least like kind of like I don't want to say like I had like a bar like so that I wanted to say like keep the verses sensory, like
Yes.
so you feel like you're in it. Um,
Yeah. I think
Very.
it I think you nailed it.
I do too.
I do.
So, okay, talking a little bit more about writing, when you have a creative block, like
Yeah.
not necessarily for this record, but just in general
yes,
when
in
you're writing,
general.
what do
Hmm.
you do?
Another great question. I mean, I think when I was first starting out, when I was younger, I mean, my whole life was a creative block. Like it was like, like I wanted, I loved music. I loved performing. Um, I wanted so badly to write songs that were kind of at the level of, the songs that I loved and heard and things like that. So, um, yeah, I think, and I would be like, how do I unlock? It was more like, yeah, it's like unlocking something that is coming out of me that is my own. And so, I start, because I think the hardest part about that is like, I want to write a song like this, because then all you can think of is this.
Hmm
Yes.
Whatever
Yeah.
you write is not going to be good as this. Like, so that was the trap that I fell into immediately. And one of the techniques that I used, and I'm sure a lot of people use this, is, just like the so-called free form writing, where you're like, and that's to try to get you to stop looking at that thing,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Yep.
I'm just going to write. I'm not going to think, just like whatever comes out. And I did that. And, varying degrees of success. I mean, you have a lot of garbage and then maybe you get a line. But that's the other thing that I learned, especially with a song like Beast of Burden. It's basically all you need. Like,
Yeah.
you have that and you can build the whole thing around that.
Yep.
And so a lot of people don't realize if you get that one concept that like works, again, you got to build your skills to some degree to be able to write and all that, but like you can flesh the rest out. It's really hard to find that center amongst infinite centers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the hardest thing. But if you get something, hang on to it, go for it, develop it. Like, and so that was kind of that's sort of the approach that I went for. But the other thing is like there's no substitute for, and this was actually probably more true when we were like a, like professional band and we had a record company and stuff like that. Because then they're breathing down your neck, like, where's the song? Where's the next song?
Yeah.
Like this one, we do like this one. So show up, like, and there's a bunch of writers who say this, like I think Steinbeck, and anyway, they just say like, show up at the typewriter, force yourself to be there for X number of hours a day, and you can sit there and do nothing. It's okay, but you have to be there. So you
Yeah.
don't like wait for inspiration to get to the typewriter. You schedule your time, you show up there, and then, maybe something will happen, maybe it won't. And guess what? It does happen
Yeah.
because
If
you
you sit
sit
there
there.
enough days, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
does happen. And so, like, literally showing up and being, I mean, discipline is probably a little too intense, but like, yeah, somewhat disciplined about showing up and not worrying, not being like, oh, this is never gonna happen, just like you show up and you do it. And then I guess the last thing I would say is this happened, sorry, it's all coming back to me as you're asking me these questions. When we were doing our second record, Super Friends, I'd written a bunch of songs, but then we had a couple that I was kind of stuck. I was kind of burnt out, or I don't know, I'd written, trying to write the whole record. And so then our manager at the time was really smart. She was like, hey, why don't we, we're going to send you down to Portland, Oregon, which is 3 hours away. It's not very far. And we're going to rent you a hotel room down there for, a long weekend or whatever. And you can just write there, and just, kind of change a
Great.
venue,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And I was kind of like, that's so stupid. Like that's, I mean, I didn't say that, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, come on, really? Like, is this like it's no different? And sure enough, went down there and I wrote, I wrote Cake and Strychnine and Self-Hater and two songs, which were, both made the record, and I wrote them, in like 3 days, and it was because I was showing up. I had nothing to do other than sit
Yes.
in my
There's
hotel
no
room,
distractions,
no
Yeah.
right?
distractions, yeah, and I kind of
And that
wandered.
change of venue really did kickstart you.
Yeah.
It really did. Yeah. And there was something about it, a different environment. And the other thing is like, and this is where I feel so bad for well, if, there are challenges in the modern world because of phones and all that. Because if I were down there and had my phone, I would look at that news,
Yep.
whatever, and
Mhm.
but instead I had nothing, and so I walk outside and I wander the streets and I go have a restaurant and like observe around me, and then come in and write, and like that process of being a human in your space is like you can still do it obviously, but I just think it's like less natural. Whereas it, of course I was going to do it when I was there because there's no phones.
Yeah.
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 That's a
Sometimes
good
I wish we
point.
could chuck them
Yeah.
out the window.
Yeah,
And
Yep.
exactly. Just
Yeah.
just at least for 8 hours or whatever. So okay, so maybe if someone else were doing the same thing as a manager to a young artist, they would say go down there and don't take your phone,
yeah.
Yes. You have to be
Yeah.
on airplane
Or
mode
at
the whole
least,
Yeah.
time.
yeah,
Disconnect.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
disconnect.
Disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe check it in with the hotel
Yes.
concierge. That's
Yeah.
it.
And have a good
And I'll
night.
verify that happened. Yeah. So
That's
that
really a
would
good idea.
That really is.
So you hinted about this a little bit, but how has your music evolved from when you first started to now?
I mean, a lot. When we first started, I mean, okay, so couple ways. One, well, for one thing, we've just become better at our, better at singing, better at songwriting, but so we've put in the 10,000 hours and all that. And so we've definitely like gotten better. I mean, we also are older, so there's like more challenges, but but in general, our brains are better. Our brains are better, put it that way. And so, but the other thing is like in the early days, um, it was all, all songs were band songs. They were all from the practice place. So they were all basically, the good part about it is they all had this like vibe that could play live for sure. Like, and
Yeah.
they lived and died live. And so in some ways that's really cool because our shows were always like so fun and so energetic and people crowd surfing. It was the whole grunge era and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but then, and so like and sometimes we captured it on record, sometimes we didn't. Like, the problem with that is it's hard for some people to translate that energy to, the record.
Yep.
And so that's one thing. Whereas I think if you listen to our old records, I don't know if you would fully understand how crazy our shows were, and they really were awesome. Um, and so that's one thing. So it was all rooted in like you're in the practice place, like that process I told you about writing, like that was the
Hmm.
whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that was that, and then we toured like crazy, and so the music now, I think the goal and also we had goals to like make a living at we wanted to sell records and make a living and at this and and that was our goal, whereas now we're not trying to it would be great to make money and in the music, but it's like that's not the primary goal. The primary goal is to make the best music we can and music that we're really proud of and that we think says something and can affect people and both like emotionally and just in many ways, and we're also trying, at least for me, I'm trying to make the best recorded music possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the way the live show, we're like, how do we play these freaking songs? You know? So
Oh,
whereas, so it's really like, yeah, it's focused on that recorded end result.
Yeah.
okay, you ready for rapid fire?
Okay, okay,
They're easy
They're
questions,
not
don't worry.
scary.
All
okay.
right, first one, coffee or tea?
Coffee,
Me too. Okay. Vinyl, cassette, CD, or streaming?
vinyl, for sure.
First album you ever bought?
Michael Jackson Off the Wall.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my God. Well, probably if I've got a partner, it would be Stop Dragging My Heart Around.
Love it.
Okay, riding at night or riding in the morning?
Writing
Yes.
or writing? Ooh, kind of writing in the morning. Hate to say it. Yeah. Uh, yeah, yeah.
All right. Do you
But
write
also,
lyrics?
actually,
Oh,
sorry, let me amend that a little bit. The best writing is in bed before you've woken up. So the netherworld, that's the best way.
Yeah.
yes. Love it. Love it. Okay. Do you write lyrics on paper, phone, your phone notes, or voice memos?
Oh, paper for sure, and voice memos. But voice memos when I think of something and I don't have a paper and can't write
Yeah.
it down, then I'm like, yeah, yeah. Or if it's a melody thing that I might think I forget, then I do that. Yeah, but I never, no.
Do the phone notes. I love it.
What's your pre-show pump-up song?
Ooh, well, for a while it was "You Got It" by Mudhoney. Um, that was actually my one that I did quite a lot. And then I will do sometimes I'll play the Stooges as well. Basically anything hype up. And then pre-show kind of an intro song that we did for quite a while is "Ooh Child" by the Five Stair Steps, which I love that
Nice.
song. And that we would set that up and then we would come out and rock and
Very cool.
Okay. Dogs, cats, fish, or birds?
ooh,
Or
uh,
reptiles?
not fish or birds. And so it's really between dogs and cats. I had so many cats growing up in my 20s and whatnot, but I have a dog right now, and I have to say I'm a dog person now. So,
Yay.
Okay, describe your sound in 3 words.
ooh,
Band sound, I should say.
yeah, 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 yeah. Our sound is, I would say, lush, uplifting, mysterious.
Yay.
Very cool.
Okay. What advice would you give to new songwriters or musicians?
Well, okay, one advice, and I've said this before, but just don't resist the urge to edit before, while you're creating.
Yes.
And so that is such a big one. And and then it's related to that thing where you're looking at something that someone else made and constantly trying to compare yourself to it as you're writing, as you're creating.
Yeah.
Like that
Yes.
does not work. It's like that's kryptonite. Get the kryptonite out the room. Uh, and so I would say that's one thing. Um, the other part is just remember, I mean, again, easier said than done, but like remember that the one thing that no one can get from anyone but you is your own personality and your own thoughts and your own feelings and your own approach to the world. So the truest you can stay to yourself. And again, easier said than done. Everyone's like, of course I'm going to do that, but then it's hard. So, but if just remember that's the thing that is unique in all the world, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's important. And then I guess the other bit is realize that it's like a sport and like a music takes training, especially I mean everything, even on a computer, but especially if you're using your physical voice, you're physically playing guitar, physically playing drums, like you have to learn physical as well as mental. You have to learn the whole experience, and it takes time to do it.
Yeah.
So like, I've seen people pick up a guitar and be like trying to play these chords and like, oh my God, I can't even, hold it right. It's like I suck. It's like, no, you have no muscles and you have no calluses and you have to do it for like a long time and then you will get those and then, then judge yourself. Like, so, point being is like give yourself that time to like if you want to play music, like, yeah, okay, like realize it's going to take some time to even get to the skill level where you can even start to really, express yourself. Um, yeah, and then I guess the last part is like don't be afraid to suck. I mean, you have to be bad before you're good. So
Yes. Embrace the suck.
That's right.
yeah,
Oh, great advice.
Yes.
Okay, now it's time for your shameless plug. Where can we
okay.
find you? Your
Yes,
website,
okay, yes. And I'm the
email.
worst. I'm the worst at this, but it's Sweetwater Rocks, one word.com. That is the portal to get everywhere, Instagram,
Perfect.
everything, Facebook, etc. So if you go to sweetwaterrocks.com, all is good. And then, we've got the record coming out on all the, platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, etc. But yeah, please do go check it out there. And then even YouTube, we have videos. We're working on a third video for the song Redemption. And yeah, so we're going to be everywhere. But, playing it on the streaming platforms is great because then, they say, oh, people like this. And then they, have other people listen.
Very
And
cool.
Cheyenne will be on vinyl.
Yes, it's coming out on vinyl. That's coming out a little later. So I think the target date is November 22nd for that. And so it actually has a different cover art and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
And then yeah, so I'm really excited. We've never released a vinyl record because we back in the 90s when we did our record, it was literally like the first cycle that they did CDs only. We're like,
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
and
Now we're
so
back to vinyl.
yes. So yeah, it's coming out then, and we're doing actually. So we're playing our record release show on October 11th in Seattle and Numos, and then on the 22nd, or maybe it's 21st or 22nd, I should know. Anyway, one of those two dates, the Friday of November, we're playing a small show at a winery where we're gonna do the vinyl record release, and we're gonna do an acoustic show there.
Oh,
Fun.
cool. How
Wish we lived
exciting.
closer.
I know.
I
How exciting.
know.
Go for
Thank
it.
you. This has been so fun, and I'm
Yeah.
so excited for the record. I'm so excited for the vinyl, and
Yes.
Thank
just,
you. Me
I mean,
too.
I just
You.
love hearing all the inside details. So thank you
Me
for
too.
sharing
We
all of
really
them.
appreciate you taking time with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for supporting music.